The neon "Open 24 hours" sign flickered in the night like a dying heartbeat. And I knew, before I even pulled off the highway, that the next mile would be the one I'd never forget. I'd been hauling a load of refrigerated trucks from Dallas to Chicago for 3 weeks straight. The road had become a blur of asphalt, rain-soaked windshields, and the endless chorus of diesel engines. At the 24th hour of driving, the fuel gauge dipped below the red line, and the GPS whispered, "Next stop, Miller's Rest, 2.3 miles." I eased off the gas, the cab vibrating as the tires sang over a pothole, and headed for the lone strip of concrete that marked the truck stop. Miller's Rest was the kind of place you only saw on a map. A faded sign, a dimly lit convenience store, a handful of parking spots surrounded by a chain-link fence. The parking lot was empty except for a single rust-caked big rig parked opposite my cab. Its driver, a gaunt man in a faded trucker cap, stared straight ahead, eyes hidden behind the shadow of his visor. I tried not to glance at him. The road had already taught me the value of keeping my focus forward. The fluorescent lights inside the store buzzed as I bought a coffee and a protein bar. The clerk, a tired-looking woman with a name tag that read Nina, didn't ask any questions. She simply handed me my change, nodded, and turned back to the register. I felt a chill, not from the night air, but from the way her smile didn't reach her eyes. I left, the coffee warm against my hands, and stepped back into the lot. At first, the rig seemed to be waiting, its engine humming softly. I turned my key, the diesel growl resonating through the cab. As I pulled forward, the other truck's lights flickered, then went dark. A sudden feeling of eyes behind me made my skin crawl. I glanced in the rearview mirror. The rig was still there, now with its trailer lights flashing a frantic strobing pattern, like a warning signal. My stomach dropped. I drove out of the lot, the rain now a light mist that turned the highway into a silver ribbon. The rig followed, staying just a car length behind, its massive presence a black wall against the night. I tried to shake it, taking the next exit, then the one after that, but each turn seemed to lead me back onto the same stretch of road, as if the highway itself were looping. Mid-story twist, 0:45 to 1:10. A mile later, the rig slowed, pulled into a side street, and the driver stepped out. He was holding a small, crumpled photograph, his hands shaking. I caught a glimpse, a picture of a teenage girl, eyes wide with fear, the same girl I had seen on a missing persons flyer at the diner 2 towns over. The driver's voice was low, barely audible over the rain. "You're the only one who saw her," he whispered, as if confessing a secret. Then, as quickly as he appeared, he vanished into the darkness, leaving his rig idling, its horn blaring a mournful wail. I slammed on the brakes, the truck skidding on the wet pavement. The engine died, the lights sputtered, and the rest area's neon sign flickered, casting erratic shadows across the empty lot. I sat in the cab, heart pounding, listening to the relentless rain tap against the windshield. The empty rig's horn continued, each blast echoing like a scream. Inside the store, the lights were off. The door creaked open on its own, a gust of cold air brushing past my cheek. A flicker of movement caught my eye. A figure standing by the soda fridge, silhouetted against the broken glass. It was Nina, her face a mask of hollow eyes, clutching a blood-stained rag. She raised it slowly, as if offering something, then dropped it, revealing a set of keys that glinted in the dim light. I bolted for my truck, fumbling with the steering wheel as the rig's engine roared back to life on its own. I tried the doors. The cab was locked from the outside. The flashlight on the dashboard flickered, illuminating the rearview mirror. In it, reflected not my own face, but the gaunt driver from the lot, his visor now lifted, eyes gleaming with a predatory patience. The rain intensified, the highway turning into a blur of water and headlights. I could hear the rig's engine revving behind me, relentless. I pressed the accelerator, the tires screaming, but the world narrowed to a single, terrifying thought. I was being chased not by a vehicle, but by a truth I could not outrun. A missing girl's last photograph, a stranger's desperate plea, and a truck stop that never truly let anyone leave. The road stretched ahead, endless and unforgiving. I didn't know if I'd make it to the next town, or if the rig would finally catch up. All I could hear was the rain, the distant wail of a horn, and the echo of a photo falling onto the pavement, silently screaming in the darkness. Story 2. You're driving alone on I-40, the mile markers blinking like tired eyes. The radio spits static. The only company you've got is the echo of your own engine. You've been on the road for 30-odd hours, coffee-stained eyes, shoulders locked in a permanent shrug. I wasn't looking for trouble. I was looking for a place to pull over. Any place. That's when the neon sign of Miller's Rest blinked into view. Open 24 hours, hot coffee, showers, diesel. The kind of strip that looks like a promise and a trap rolled into one. Hook. I rolled into the lot, and as my rig settled into a vacant space, I noticed the other trucks, 2, 3, maybe 4, sitting like silent sentries. But the one that caught my eye was a 1978 Freightliner, its chrome grille dulled by grime, its cab door ajar. Inside, a man in a stained flannel shirt stared straight at me, eyes fixed, unblinking. He didn't move, didn't speak. He just watched. I tried to ignore it, turned off the engine, and walked toward the small convenience store. The fluorescent lights buzzed, casting a harsh glare over the rows of slushies and instant noodles. The cashier, a teenage boy with a scar across his cheek, gave me a half smile and a nod. I bought a coffee, the bitter taste grounding me back to the present. Back at my truck, I heard a faint clink, metal on metal, coming from the Freightliner's open door. I frowned, glanced over, and saw the man's hand gripping the steering wheel. His fingers knotted around it like iron. He didn't look at me. He just sat there, the seatbelt unfastened, the engine ticking irregularly as if it were a heart. Escalation. I stepped away, deciding it was best to leave. While I was lacing my boots, the store's lights flickered. The boy behind the counter muttered something about the power. I heard a low thump outside, like a truck door slamming shut. My gut tightened. I turned toward the Freightliner. The cab was now completely dark, the interior void of any silhouette. The engine was off, no sound at all. I walked to the fuel pumps, the smell of gasoline sharp in the night air. As I filled the tank, a rusted blue pickup rolled up beside me. Its driver, a woman with a sun-bleached bob and a bandana covering her face, rolled the window down. "You heading out?" she asked, voice flat, eyes never leaving mine. I nodded, but the words caught in my throat. The pickup's radio crackled, a news bulletin about a missing driver, John Miller. Last seen at this very rest stop 3 weeks ago. His truck found abandoned, doors wide open, his seat empty. The woman's eyes flicked to the Freightliner, then back. "He never left," she whispered, and the car sped off, tires squealing on the gravel. Mid-story twist. I stared at the Freightliner, heart hammering. I went to the cab, pulled the door open. Just a second after I did, the steel doors of my own rig slammed shut on their own, the lock clicking with a deafening finality. The air inside grew heavy. The windows fogged as if someone, or something, was breathing in the confined space. I tried the door. It wouldn't budge. I was trapped in my own truck, the Freightliner. A silent sentinel outside, its driver still a shadow that never moved. Unresolved ending. The night stretched on. I could hear the faint thrum of a distant semi, its headlights sweeping the parking lot like a predator's gaze. I could feel the weight of every pair of eyes in the lot, the quiet stare of the empty cab, the lingering scent of the woman's perfume mixing with diesel. I whispered into the empty cabin, "Hello?" But only the static of my own breath answered back. Outside, the Freightliner's door creaked open just a crack. Just enough for a cold gust to slip in, carrying with it a whisper that sounded disturbingly like a name. Miller. And then, everything went dark.